Welcome, welcome today to our webinar, Building Climate Resilience Strategies and Lessons for Financial Service Providers. My name is Natalia Real Pecarrillo, Director of HEDERA Sustainable Solutions, and I'm very happy to launch our second session, this time in English, for selected and exclusive guests that we have today. This session, as said, is being recorded. The presentations will be shared after the webinar, and we will have an interactive session where we will invite you to pose your questions, share your experiences after we hear our honorable speakers that we have today. With this, let's get started. I'll share with you the agenda for the next 90 minutes that we have planned for our session today. First, we will have a welcome note from Triple Jump, Oxfam Novib, and COFIDES, our co-organizers and sponsors of this webinar series. Afterwards, I will introduce you to the project assessing the climate-related risks of microfinance institutions and developing entrepreneurial strategies for resilience to climate change resilience. We will have a survey for our participants in order to get to know you and also leave our speakers comment and share their experiences based also on your expertise in the subject. And afterwards, we will hear first the intervention from VisionFund Senegal, from Agnès Diene, who's here with us today, and from Banco CODESARROLLO from Ecuador, Francisco Garcés. Afterwards, we will have our Q&A session, and we will launch a survey, a feedback survey that we will conduct together, of course, everyone individually, and afterwards we will have and we will share our main takeaways that we have from this project, and as well our co-organizers are also welcome to share their words with us in the session. Okay. Please, in the chat, do not hesitate to share with us from where are you joining. I see here greetings from Cambodia. It might be very late for you, so very welcome and glad that you are here with us today. And for the others, share your name and your country or your organization, and let's encourage this networking throughout the session. Now, I would like to give the words to Juan Luis Podesta, ESG and Impact Officer from Triple Jump.
Thank you, Natalia. So, want to be brief. I hope I can accomplish this. As most of you probably know, Triple Jump is an investment manager specialized in impact, whose mission is to invest in entrepreneurship to address global challenges such as poverty, inequality, and the climate crisis, which is the main topic of this session. In line of this, we have developed a climate strategy which describes how we approach our contribution to mitigation and adaptation of climate change. We have experience working on environmental aspects with Energy Growth Fund, and also another fund on Africa called CEI Africa, and working together with Oxfam Novib, which is going to be explained in a moment how their strategy approach climate change. In this context, we are convinced that financial inclusion and microfinance institutions can play an important role in strengthening climate resilience and adaptation for low-income individuals. We firmly want to support financial institutions to reduce risks on the institution and the portfolio level. And in this way, help different institutions to better serve their clients. And we are very happy to partner this opportunity in this project that is the reason of this webinar. We are happy to partner with Oxfam Novib and COFIDES to support the climate change strategy for 2 MFIs in Africa, and the work is going to be done in Latin America with other 2 financial institutions. And we also want to thank Natalia from HEDERA, who is a very recognized specialist in this space in climate management on the financial sector inclusions. Thanks, Natalia. And we are also aiming to continue this work after this project is completed, to invite other institutions to work on institutional climate resilience, and also work towards improve the services to their client. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juan Luis, and also thanks also for your words and feedback. I'd like to now invite to Michelle Steggerda from Oxfam Novib, Investment Officer, here to share.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. My name is Michelle. I'm indeed Investment Officer from Oxfam Novib. And Oxfam Novib is an NGO part of the Oxfam Confederation, and we're based in the Netherlands. Our mission as Oxfam Novib is to fight inequality, to end poverty and injustice. And we've been working on microfinance since the 1970s. And from this experience, in 1998, we founded the Oxfam Novib Fund, dedicated to financial inclusion in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And since 2 years, we've adapted our strategy towards climate resilience, because we saw that the microfinance institutions, as Juan Luis already mentioned, could really play a key role here, and already affected by climate change, and this will be even more in the future. So we offer with our fund that is managed by Triple Jump since 2007. We offer several credit lines that are addressing climate resilience. So we focus on MFIs that are operating in climate disaster-prone areas. We also have a credit line to support MFIs to recover after acute climate shocks. We have also an innovation lab, and that's a dedicated credit line to support seed funding of new and early stage climate resilient products that MFIs want to pilot. In addition to that, we also have a grant facility to support MFIs build climate risk management capacity and develop climate resilient products and services. We do that worldwide, and we also try to actively communicate about the MFIs in our portfolio and about the client stories. To increase the visibility of the great work. And I'm really happy that we could engage in this project together with Triple Jump and COFIDES. I think the 2 institutions that will be presenting today are a beautiful example of the type of work that we want to support. And I would like to thank you everyone for their partnership, and also specifically Natalia for your great work.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Also a pleasure. This project has been amazing. And with this, let's have the words from our last co-organizer, COFIDES, Beatriz Morant, Senior Investment Officer from COFIDES.
So thank you very much, Natalia. I'm very happy to participate in this webinar and to be part of this initiative with Oxfam Novib and Triple Jump. I think the 3 institutions, we complement quite well each other, and we are committed with this objective. I don't know if my sound is good. Okay. Okay, so I will be brief. COFIDES is a European Development Finance institution. We fund with, let's say, in mostly public money. We fund mostly private sector in developing economies. COFIDES has also other objective, more traditional objective, let's say, on internationalization of Spanish companies, but we have a department with since 2008 and 15 that we are also committed in developing economies, in development finance, and we have the possibility to structure blended finance for operations. So this is, for instance, the operation that we have in this moment on the blending portfolio. We are accredited institutions for the developing resources for development from the European Union, and we can manage blending operations and developing funds. And also we are accredited by the Green Climate Fund initiative under the TIF program. One of our blending this program is formalized and extension TIF2 program also for Latin American companies, but we have other funds, other programs such as the UMA Fund or the Clean Energy in Africa, other initiatives in blending. It means that we can fund and mix with TA grants. So
yeah, somehow we are missing you.
Like
it's
are participating
interrupted.
in the yeah. No, okay. So I was finishing. I think there was a problem with the.
But I hope that that everyone got like the messages from COFIDES. If you can give me thumbs up. From my side there, it was a little bit interrupted, but all good. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, sorry.
No worries, Beatriz. I'm sorry for that audio inconvenience. Let's okay, we have other guests joining the session. We will continue now with the first presentation, where we will have an overview. I'll give you an overview of the project that Juan Luis, Michelle, and Beatriz have briefly introduced you and commented on the work that we have been doing, supporting two microfinance institutions in Mali and Senegal. From our side and how we approach the institutions, we are HEDERA is an expert advisory service provider and also impact data management expert, where we provide digital solutions for green inclusive finance, working in these two fields, impact data management and green inclusive finance. Within our green inclusive finance, we have provided the consultancy services for VisionFund Senegal and resolved the microfinance, the cross-under revenue VisionFund Mali, where we have conducted environmental performance assessment and strategy development using tools and conducting training with the institutions. This work has been conducted since January, early this year until now, working very closely with institutions, with a visit to both of them, assessing the capacities of each department and evaluating the climate risks that the institution face at institutional level, portfolio, and client level. So let's go deeper on what the project was about or is about. The objective is to assess the risks and capacities of the institutions, providing fine-tuned financing to entrepreneurs on climate adaptation and mitigation activities, and helping them to develop their climate strategies. The specific objectives were to evaluate their risk exposure and alignment, and also to increase the knowledge that they have in these subjects, assess the risk materiality and the preparedness of the institutions, and coach them on climate change resilience strategies, helping them to develop by themselves what will be their main objectives and actions to conduct in the next terms, short-term, mid-term, long-term. The project scope had two components. The first one was the risk assessment and alignment of the objectives with the institutions. We conducted an introductory workshop on capacity building about green inclusive finance. Also, we have implemented the green index, and with that training also on the tool and the alignment with the dimension 7 of the Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance Management, with its implementations and results, and then conducting the climate risk assessment. On the second component, we have developed a toolkit for climate risk assessment to help microfinance institutions and also consultants in doing this work together with FSPs or even the FSPs themselves, and understand what are the risks that they have within their headquarters and branches in their portfolio and the sector that they are financing, helping them to establish their own scoring and also with their clients, and then providing training with the institutions for their climate resilience strategy design, with guidelines for each chapter, and as well guidelines on how to develop it in a structured way with a tool, and then later on the formal documentation. And lastly, developing the action plan, where it will be the backup tool that they will have for the long-term monitoring and evaluation. The methodology that we conducted was to define or to analyze the credit product characteristics that they have, the purposes, and also the non-financial services that they offer, conducting physical and transition risks analysis as a market and institutional assessment, and the strategy development through the coaching. The approaches, as I have mentioned in the beginning, from our company, we use above all digital tools. So for us, data collection at the institutional assessment, we used training platform for the project management and sharing of materials. We conducted the environmental performance evaluation with the digital tool of the Green Index, and have used digital tools for the institutional assessment. And throughout the steps, we have had this close working relationship for the trainings and also development of these webinars for sharing and dissemination of knowledge. Then I'll go through the details of the components. We conducted the capacity building workshop on climate finance, giving an overview of the different frameworks and standards that there are in the sector, and also what type of loan products can financial service providers offer in terms of climate mitigation, adaptation, resilience, and transition, as well as other type of loans that are addressing climate resilience. And then with each institution, we were reviewing and refining the strategies for managing climate risk to enhance their institutional resilience. We have here the case of VisionFund Mali. We had yesterday their experience, and having them working in very difficult conditions already, and seeing how they cope with climate change and the consequences at the infrastructure level is something to structure and to set up what will be mitigation strategies for them, and then building capacity or building technical capacities for developing and implementing green financial products, providing them the surveys for identifying the demand within their loan officers, or identifying green demand within their portfolio. And lastly, seeing what are the characteristics of those products that could be then converted into green products for their portfolio diversification. We use the green index in order to have the assessment of the different standards that the tool has, with one, the environmental strategy, the identification of environmental risk and opportunities, the management of those environmental risk and opportunities, and the green products and services. And the tool is useful in order to understand where the institution starts, what are the gaps, provide specific recommendations on how can they embed environmental strategies, and also as capacity building of good practices to integrate within the institution. The tool is aligned to the dimension 7. So even by fulfilling the tool, institutions are also filling out the dimension 7 of the universal standards. And then through these specific actions on the climate strategy development, on the product development risks and risk assessments, they are already completing doing activities that are key indicators of this dimension 7 tool. And lastly, on the climate risk assessment, the scope was to develop this robust methodology to understand the climate risk landscape. For the microfinance sector, there is so far no specific methodology or tools in order for microfinance institutions to understand what are their climate risks and develop their mitigation strategies, as financial institutions have the special case that they are financing. They are not only, they don't have specific physical product, but it's rather services, and those services are financing other types of activities that may have be also affected by climate risks. So we have done is align and use different standards from the Green Index, from UNEP, from the Network for Greening the Financial Sector, and having the 3 dimensions, institution levels of how operations, processes, finances can be affected by climate, physical, and transition risks. On the portfolio, what is the exposure to climate hazards and the sensitivity of the portfolio to those physical and transition risks, and the clients, what is the vulnerability at the household levels on a standard assessment in terms of energy access, water, sanitation and hygiene, food security, and socio-economic conditions, if data is available. And for the results, we have provided for each of these dimensions tailored climate risk assessment report and the detailed overview of the climate-related risks are across these dimensions, the regions and the sectors that they are financing, and recommendations and strategies for risk mitigation on the products that they are offering, or what type of financial products they could adapt within their portfolio or offer for their clients. The approach consisted in 4 stages on risk identification with the hazard assessment, the exposure assessment, and vulnerability assessment. Then we had a second step on the risk evaluation, where we assign risk factors based on the level of exposure and vulnerability for each identified hazard, and categorizing them into very low, low, moderate, high, very high, and to prioritize the areas. And then we have reviewed from the portfolio and from the types of loans that they offer, how could that exposure and vulnerability be reduced, and suggest types of loans to be financed, or types of technologies or activities, sustainable practices to finance. And then lastly, with also the climate resilience strategy, providing tools for continuous monitoring of the climate risks and impacts, and regular reporting to stakeholders within the full spectrum of the climate strategy. Lastly, within the scope of the project, we have developed for Triple Jump and Oxfam Novib a climate risk assessment toolkit for the MFIs. And this toolkit has these step-by-step guidelines, the framework for identifying and managing the environmental risks. It has also Excel-based tools that it's adapted for microfinance institutions to assess the climate risk at the institutional level. We have gathered references and useful tools for the institutions, and there are also examples of assessment at each dimension. And closing with the component 2, we provided also training for climate resilience, strategy design, where we had workshops with the institutions on how to develop and monitor their climate resilience strategy. We use a tool for developing the action plan for the implementation and monitoring. And then the outcome is to have this structured approach and build this holistic strategy so that institutions, when they connect with other partners, with other consultants, when they have even initiatives at internal level, they can connect points and identify to which activity or to which objective those activities are planned, and also identify what are their financial needs that they have, the timing, which stakeholders will be involved, the communication strategy that they should have, and like this, having an organized way on how to address climate resilience. This has been a very intense project with very close work with both institutions as well with Triple Jump and Oxfam Novib, and we're keen to share our main insights and takeaways in an article very soon. And with this, I finalize this first introduction of the project, and we are very keen now to get to know what are your experiences, so that when we are listening to the experiences from the two microfinance institutions that we have invited today, we can see if we should be more specific or more clear about the terms or strategies that we are sharing not through the presentation. So for this, I will launch a series of 5 questions, and please feel free now to answer directly here in Zoom. The first one on climate resilience offer. Does your institution currently offer any climate resilience finance products or services? For example, in improved energy management, in water sanitation and hygiene, in sustainable agriculture, livestock or fisheries, in clean transportation, on or house or business improvement for climate adaptation. Let us know your answers. We will share results very soon. Also, feel free to open your microphone if you have any question to the question. Climate resilience offer. We have already completed half of the participants answering. We wait one more. In improved energy management can be energy efficiency or renewable energies. Okay. So now we share results. So you see here, we have 70% with experience, one institution developing currently the offer, and 2 institutions without yet. Next one. On environmental sustainability strategy. Does your institution have a formal strategy or policy in place for promoting environmental sustainability and green inclusive finance? Yes, we have a comprehensive strategy or policy. Yes, but it is in the early stages. No, but we're planning to develop one. Or no, we have no plans to develop one. We see most institutions already with experience in their environmental strategy, with one in its early stages. Wait, 2 more. And most of there, we don't have yet any institution yet without a plan to develop one. So there you can see the results. With one institution without a comprehensive strategy, most of the institutions in the early stages, but giving an overview that there is already interest in place, and institutions interested in developing one. Okay. And now the third question. Green finance training. Has your staff received training on green inclusive finance and environmental sustainability? Yes. Yes, we have received a comprehensive training. Yes, some training. No, but we plan to provide training. No, and we have no plans for training. Has your staff received training on green inclusive finance? We will discuss then what differences between comprehensive and some training. Okay, we end poll and share results. As you see, Francisco and Agnès. And still, we don't have yet institutions with comprehensive training for their staff. And most of the institutions are planning to provide training, so there is interest in this. Stop sharing. 4th question. And then we have a 5th one. On client engagement in sustainability, do you engage with your clients to promote environmentally sustainable practices and offer education on climate change resilience, adaptation, and mitigation? Yes, regularly. Yes, occasionally. No, but we plan to start. No, and we do not have plans to engage. It can be, even if it's passive, with posters, messages, radio, advertising, or active with recommendations from your loan officers that are systematic to specific types of clients or sectors that you finance. Or through campaigns and related also with the training. We wait one more to complete the 100%. Do you engage with your clients to promote environmentally sustainable practices and offer education on climate change resilience? We have 50-50 sharing results. Yes, occasionally, and 50% no, but we plan to start. Okay. Also point to discussion what is missing to start. Stop sharing. And the last question. Do you have mechanisms in place to monitor and evaluate the environmental impact or climate risks of the financial service offered? Yes, with regular reporting. Yes, but not consistently. No, but we are developing such mechanisms. No, and we have no plans to develop them. Environmental impact monitoring, also at internal or external. Do you have mechanism in place of your internal environmental impacts or of the loans that you are offering? We wait one more answer. I see here an increasing interest. And we end poll, share results. And with this, we have a good overview of our participants. To VisionFund Senegal, Banco CODESARROLLO, we see institutions already with experience. Most of them in the planning phase for monitoring, for training, for internal risk management, but still already with strategies ahead or with plans. So there you have an overview of our audience. And yes, now I'll give you the word to start with your presentation. Agnès, welcome to the session today. Agnès Diene is acting CEO of VisionFund Senegal, partner of the project. Agnès, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natalia, for the floor. Hi, everyone. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm acting CEO of VisionFund Senegal. And I will share with you our little experience on this topic. So I will start with a picture who, for me, can illustrate the effect of climate change on our intervention area. So as you can see, just a small part is green. All the rest is desert. And due to the desertification, frequent droughts, erratic rainfall, and increase of heat and stress impact, and who affect crops and livestock. So this program come at the right time. Senegal is affected, our area are affected, and if you also take the news of our neighbor in Mali, for example, they have a natural disaster set by the government. So next slide. I will come in our vision with closely linked to effect of climate change. Just take one point of our vision is a world protected from the impact of climate change for all children and future generations to inherit where they can thrive while living life in all its fullness. So our mission is to provide for micro entrepreneurs with particular emphasis of women with adapted and sustainable financial and non-financial services in vulnerable areas, with the aim of ensuring their resilience by increasing their income and reducing the poverty level of communities in general and the well-being of children in particular. So what you can see here is an assessment did by Think Other. So you can see that high level of risk for most of items. So the question for us now is for VisionFund, what happened to our client, our portfolio, and what measure we need to take to address this situation. So addressing client vulnerability is crucial for achieving a VisionFund goals. So really we need to have a plan and to have a strategy for this. Next slide. Okay. So what we did with HEDERA is assessment in C-level. Institutional level, I will start with institutional level. For institutional level, we have a three component, operation, infrastructure, and operation. And VisionFund Senegal has invested in infrastructure and process for climate resilience, but face some challenge. In the headquarters, for example, we can say that we are compliant, but we need to do some effort in our branch. And for preparedness gaps, we have also some gaps because most of our portfolio is linked to agriculture, and we don't have, for example, disaster insurance. But we are preparing with HEDERA, we can identify how we can address, and what we are doing is for the regulator, we don't have a real requirement for MFI, but for example, in our risk register, we add some risk linked to climate resilience. So sure, we identify also some financial pressure because the climate change affect cash. For example, if our clients are affected, cannot repay their loan timely, sure, they will affect our portfolio and will affect also our finance. So for market opportunity, the study allow us to see that there are a potential. The demand is here, and they are raising a lot of demand on climate resilience product. Next slide. So for portfolio level, what we see with this assessment is that flood and extreme heat pose a greatest threat to the portfolio. And it is illustrated by the first picture that you show at the beginning. Wildfire also concern is here and is a significant exposure and affect our portfolio. Heavy and rain and water also scarcity are less critical but still relevant. So we not also minimal impact if you take sea level due to the fact that we don't have now a bunch around the sea. Next slide. Okay, so in a client level, what we note is that the reduced vulnerability over the time. So a long-term client experience significantly reduce the vulnerability level. So maybe in the question and the development, we can come on this part. And client with more long cycle show fewer cases of severe and extreme vulnerability. And the vulnerability constantly decrease as the number of long cycle increase. And we can have this result from a data used by HEDERA. Natalia also come again with a representative sample of our client. Next slide. So after identify all the risk or the issue on our 3 level, what is now our objective? What is our strategic objective? So our long-term is enhancing VisionFund and our client resilience and reducing vulnerability. And we also do the integration of our climate resilience into VisionFund strategy framework. And 3 levels, as I say, institutional level, portfolio level, and client level. Next slide. So what we want is to reduce climate and infrastructure vulnerability, to address the identified physical climate risk and impact across the 3 dimensions that I mentioned previously. In institutional level, we'll adapt process to withstand climate risk like heat and flood. In portfolio level, we already start financing and improving sustainable agriculture, livestock practice, and redefine IT system to improve climate risk assessment. Because before we start with HEDERA, we cannot have the possibility on our system to track all the green product, for example. But now, after working with HEDERA, we work in our IT core banking system, and we can now track all product linked to green and climate change. And we are able now to monitor. And in a client level, we start to finance solar pump and clean technology. So the other topic is to reduce adverse environmental impact by doing what? So in institutional level, we want to reduce consumption of paper. Since 2 years now, VisionFund start a journey of digitalization, and we are working on this, and we are in our pilot phases. So energy also, water, plastic, and we want also to minimize waste. For example, in our procurement level, every month they send an email to remember the staff. For example, a simple action: put off your laptop or for your light when you leave your office, or put off your air conditioner. It's just a simple thing that you can do to protect your environment. So institutional and client level, we try to build a capacity on environmental impact and promote sustainable practices for resilience and diversification. For clients, we support green practice, help them and train them. We program to train them to protect biodiversity and raise awareness about agrochemical impact. So forest economic and opportunity. In institutional level, as I said, install solar home system to cut energy and boost resilience. In our office, in the branch level, for example, at the long term, we want to have a dual system. So having a solar product can allow us to reduce our consumption and also to continue to protect the nature. For portfolio and client, we will promote sustainability, diversify the portfolio with green practice and technology. For client, identify and assess the current green portfolio and needs. We already start, and we will continue on this way. Next slide. I will talk now about challenge and opportunity. So in institutional level, for us, the big challenge is that the staff adopt the strategy and develop the ownership of it, acceptance and motivation. So we need to have a clear communication plan to help them to understand the add value for the institution. And we need to do it from the board up to the staff, because we need to have a commitment for all commitment on VisionFund Senegal. So one of challenge that we can have is the funding for training the staff. And for the process adaptation, because they need to understand, train the staff, and particularly the loan officer, because they need to understand, and they can also talk to the client and explain them really all the benefit of protecting and our health. So in client level, so as I say, it's not easy to change their mindset and the way how they have been working. Generally, humans don't like change. We accept it resistance. So the strategy is a regular and persistent awareness raising. So we need also funding to train all our clients, and they can understand the add value. Because for the client, if you, for example, tell them stop using chemical, for example, they say no, because it's cheaper than organical, and also they can have quickly the result or the benefit. And if you use the organical, they can be slow, but if you can train them, they can understand. Even if you use chemical, in the short term you can have result, but in the time you will destroy the planet, and you can have anything, and your children in the future also. Maybe they can understand, they can know really what you are saying, talking about, but they need to be really trained and to understand. So in portfolio level, diversify and integrating climate resilient objective. We are working on it also. Next slide. For conclusion, so in close line with the VisionFund International mission to protect our mental health, VisionFund is committed to a world protected from the impact of climate change for all children and future generations to inherit where they can thrive while living life in all its fullness. So next step for VisionFund Senegal is to finalize it is finalized, maybe doing translation for our climate resilience strategy, doing the integration in our framework, sharing with the VisionFund International for input and approval, and we need also approval by our board, and sharing with the staff and external partner with a clear communication plan. Next slide. So thank you for your attention, and it's okay for me. Thank you. Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you very much, Agnès. And we will have also the detailed action plan that VisionFund Senegal has, that you will see in detail based on the strategic climate resilience framework that has shown. Yeah. Or Agnès, if you would like also to say here some words.
Okay, yes, quickly for our action plan. Yes, we have action plan on a short term, mid-term, and long term. So as I said also, all the work is in a 3 level: institutional, portfolio, and client level. So for institutional level, in short term, adapt process to climate risk, reduce institutional consumption and waste. And we already start with the digitalization, because now we are using a tablet DFA, and stop using paper for our loan assessment. So in midterm, build capacity on environmental impact and develop improvement plan. I think we start also building capacity. We start for maybe not all, something like 10 loan officer with just institute. It's maybe small compared to 100 loan officer, but it is a beginning. So in long-term vision, we want to integrate, as I said, our climate resilience on our frameworks. So in portfolio level, we start also to finance solar pump. We continue to identify the green portfolio and portfolio product. For green portfolio, now currently we have a firm who is currently on the field and helping us to identify our portfolio, green portfolio. So the work is ongoing on. They start last week, their work. So in midterm, adapt IT system, as I said, we start, because now if you go on our core banking system, you can see if we disburse from solar pump, it is clear identify, so we can monitor, and we can have the number of loan linked to solar pump, for example, and promote sustainable practice and diversify our portfolio also. And in long-term vision, at least we want to have 1 out of 5 clients, for example, in agriculture sector, using practice and technology linked to climate resilience. So in client level, raise climate awareness, as I say, doing some campaign for biodiversity protection, the nature. And in midterm, finance clean technology, support green practice for clients. And in long term, enhancing VisionFund and our client resilience and reducing our vulnerability.
Very good.
Thank
you very much, Agnès, for
Thank
the
you,
overview
Natalia.
and detailed activities for the short term, mid-term, long term. And after listening to this experience in Senegal, we can now listen also to Francisco Garcés Rengifo from Ecuador, Banco CODESARROLLO, Manager of Innovation and Market Development, sharing with us the experience that they have in green inclusive finance from in Ecuador. Now, Francisco, I'll give you the word.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is great to see Beatriz and Juan Luis in this space. I think whose institutions has helped us to increase a lot of our climate resilience and what we are doing with low-income people. So it's great to see Beatriz here. And well, I am representing Banco CODESARROLLO today. Banco CODESARROLLO is a microfinance specialized bank that is located in Ecuador, in Latin America. So the experience that we have, it's very different from what you are doing in Africa, but it's going to be very hard to overpass what Agnès have shown of VisionFund Senegal. It is amazing what you have done. And we are trying to share what we have done in our space and in our reality. Banco CODESARROLLO is a bank that has more than 50 years, 54 years right now, working with low-income individuals in Ecuador. We are located throughout the country. We have like 21 branches. And what we have done in these years is we started working as a fund in 1970s. We were created by a priest in the poorest area of Ecuador, and he started basically managing the savings of low-income people and creating a poverty fund that after that became in a cooperative in 1998, and since 2014 we are working as a bank. We have a very different way of looking to the finance. We are a Christian inspiration bank with a social vision that offers quality financial products and services to create a more human living condition. That's the most important part for us, to be in touch with one person, a low-income individual, and to transform their lives, to pass from less human living conditions to more human living conditions. That's our main goal. So we want to contribute to reduce poverty, to promote sustainable local development, financial inclusion, and the strengthening of popular finance and social solidarity economy. That's a very different thing of way of thinking, because in Ecuador we have a constitutional recognized sector that is the popular and solidarity economy. Is that as you can have private sector, public sector. Right now we have the popular and solidarity sector as well, and it's constitutional recognized. So it's a very different way of looking to the life and tackling the way how development should be done. The next slide, please. Okay, so how we work? We basically work in three dimensions. We are looking for the economic development. What we look for or what we are expecting from that sector is to obtain an equitable economic growth. And we have another dimension that is the social one. What we're looking for that dimension is to have an integral development of people, and the environmental dimension as well. So we always try to base our actions in terms of those three dimensions. We are always trying to think every action that we can do in these three aspects, and we were looking at the end to have an integral development of the people and of the country. The next slide, please. So how we manage, how we address the issue of environmental in CODESARROLLO, we were trying to find a way how we can start working with environmental and social dimensions. And we started doing three main things, working in three main actions. The first one is the strategic advocacy. We want to, or we try to be on the same page with the board of directors that we have and all the workers of CODESARROLLO and the stakeholders of CODESARROLLO, trying to put them in the same page, because we want of them to know that environmental and social aspect is as important as economic aspect. So that was the first thing that we were trying to do. And the second one was the stakeholder relations. We were trying to actually create a net inside of Ecuador with different economic and financial institutions. So we created the first climate finance forum, and that was a very good experience. We had almost 150 different institutions, public, private, and cooperatives of savings as well, working together to have a unique strategy in our country to support climate finance. So that was a very important experience that we have. But we as well try to looking for support from abroad. Basically, the Italian banks, the cooperative banks of Italia, what we call BCCs, supported us for the first steps that we had in environmental aspects, and as well some investors. I talked about what Triple Jump did with us, COFIDES as well, and another different investors that helped us to develop the environmental aspects. And finally, we have thinking as well in what we can do with the customer. So we create Crédito Ecológico, that is a green product, our first green product, and we are trying to change it a little bit right now, but that was a microfinance product with an incentive and a specific interest rate of 10%, the lowest interest rate that we will find in Ecuador. And we were doing a lot of different projects as well with COFIDES, with YAPU, with the microfinance ecosystem-based adaptation MEVA project, and with INCOFIN, to tackle different things inside of the bank. We were trying to analyze the risk of our portfolio. We were trying to put some technology inside of the way how we are analyzing customers right now, the methodology that we are using for them. And we were doing a lot of different efforts, as you can see, but all of them were super insulated. We were trying to do different things, but we didn't have the same objective of them, or as well maybe a strategic vision of what we are going to do on the future with them, with these aspects. So next slide, please. We want to see to show you how in the timeline how the roadmap that we use to develop our strategy in terms of environmental and social dimensions. First one, in 2010, we created Crédito Ecológico, that I talked about it. That was the specialized financial product to promote environment protection and fight against climate change. And that was just a green product. And after that, we're trying to develop a methodology to report our social and environment performance. We create a very interesting methodology and very interesting report that you can find it in our website if you want to see it. We have that methodology is based on the best international practices and the internal measurement scheme that give us the chance to actually report what we were doing in terms of social and environmental dimensions. In 2023, some interesting thing happened in Ecuador, because there was a regulatory scheme that forced us, and that was a compulsory thing that we have to address, that was to create an environmental and social risk system, what is called an ESRS. And that was a regulatory thing, that was a mandate by the government and the superintendencies in Ecuador. So we have to fulfill that thing and create an environmental and social risk system. And we implemented it in 2023. And after that, we create an environmental strategy also in 2023, but actually the environmental system, the risk system was created before the strategy because of the regulatory scheme. And right now in 2024 and 2025, we want to strengthen that social and environmental management strategy that you're going to see in the next slide. How we create that, can you? Okay, how we create that is using a framework, basically. The framework of sustainable finance that we are using right now to address our strategy, to create our strategy. And we have basically three big dimensions that we are looking for right now, and we are working to develop that strategy. The first one is the eco-efficiency. That is basically an intern aspect of the bank, that is how we are using our resources. If we are using, how we are using paper, how we are using fuel, how we are using energy, and what is the strategy in terms of eco-efficiency to be more green, to be greener and to be more sustainable, to use less resources and to support the way how we are doing things as well in terms of eco-efficiency. The second dimension is the social and environmental risks that I talked about in the last slide. And the third one is green finance, and we are looking to develop financial products, all of our portfolio in terms of green and sustainable aspects. So that's the main framework that we are using, but how we create that strategy was based on the bank's mission and vision, because that facilitates a lot the building process of the strategy, as well as a mainstreaming of the strategy, people thinking of that, give the not just the board of members, our main authorities as well, or works as well, thinking of the environmental and social aspect was one of the keys. The availability of resources, you can do anything if you don't have enough resources to do it. The adaptation of functional organizational structure as well, because someone has to do it. The most important part is that we have the idea, but nobody wanted to do it. So right now we adapt our functional organizational structure, and there's some areas working on that topic. As well, I'm focusing the strategy beyond credit. It is not just credit what is green. To be a greener institution, you don't have to think just in credit. You have to think in the whole institution is something more an integral way of looking to these aspects. And finally, define policies, indicators, and monitoring actions. That was important as well. The next slide, please. Okay, so basically the action plan that we have right now, we identified short-term actions, mid-term actions, and long-term actions. In the short term, we are trying to visualize what are the institutional efforts that we have done and the main actions that we have right now, and to close that regulatory gap that I talked about late, and basically restructure our green products and controlling our risks. That's the part that we are working right now, basically to 2024 and 2025. After that, we are going to prepare the institution to develop sustainability actions and to be eco-efficient. Footprint, for example, is one of the things that we are planning right now to have, and to develop that kind of projects that help us to prepare the institution to develop sustainability actions. And finally, in terms, we want to innovate in terms of a greener institution and to have a sustainability as well as an institution. The next slide, please. Some results that we have until now: $1.8 million of loans in Crédito Ecológico that I talked about. And the default rate, the delinquency rate of the portfolio of Crédito Ecológico is just 1.1%. So it's a very good product that we have developed, and we are trying right now to basically restructure the products to make it wider, to have more, to increase the amount of portfolio that we have right now, and to make it greener, to increase the percentage, the participation that the credit has in terms of the whole portfolio. Those $1.8 million are located mainly in agroecology and food sovereignty and soil remediation. A little bit of that is also located in renewable energy and other kind of green aspects like recycling, for example. The next slide, please. So how we are using right now Crédito Ecológico, we are trying to promote green portfolio identification processes. We are maximizing the bank's impact in creating opportunities for micro entrepreneurs and encouraging credit for climate actions. And as well, we are trying to promote low carbon and climate resilience credit portfolio growth, and finally to promote the strategic alliances to enable different funding lines. The next slide. How COFIDES right now are helping us to develop the strategy, the institutional strategy, and to develop the program that we are thinking in the long term. So first, the most important part is to strengthen the assessment of Banco CODESARROLLO exposure and the vulnerabilities that we have to climate change related risks. It is really important for us to start looking for the risks that we have right now and how we can tackle them to actually reduce the way how we are impacted for climate change. Right now in Ecuador, we have an important amount of floods during the winter, and right now we are living actually one of the hardest summers that we have done. So the wildfires are a main problem right now, and of course the scarcity of water. So what we want to do right now is to tackle these climate change related risks and to find the way how they will not impact so much in our portfolio. As well, we try to develop and implement and strengthen the climate change resilience strategies. As you can see in the last slide, we have a way of thinking in terms of long-term greener institutions. So we want to develop, implement, and strengthen these new strategies that we are trying to tackle right now. As well, we want to have a more sustainable green financial products. As I said, we are trying to restructure this Crédito Ecológico because we want to strengthen the environmental and social credit risk analysis system and its applicability in terms of for low-income individuals. Basically, we want to establish some policies, some processes, and some initiatives that promote the bank eco-efficiency, to use better our resources, to use less resources that we are using right now, and to change that environmental culture that we have. It is really important that the people inside the bank thinks in terms of the environment and in terms of the climate change. And finally, we want, with the support of COFIDES as well, to the last slide, please. Okay, it's just the last point. The strengthening of the bank's social performance. As I said, we have a portfolio right now. We want that portfolio to have a wider view and make it more visible for the results that we are having to demonstrate the commitment as a bank that we have for local economic development. So the last slide shows the challenges that we have and the main challenges that we have faced during the development of the strategy. The first thing is to adapt to a new market scenarios. Right now in Ecuador, it's just a regulatory thing to basically to address the environmental aspects, but in the long term will be a new market scenario. So we are trying to planify and to be ready for that new market scenarios. Second is to promote the inclusion of shareholders with a socio-environmental orientation. We are an ethic bank. We are trying to do an ethic social finance. So we don't want that kind of shareholders that are thinking just in economic and basically in terms of money. We don't want that kind of shareholders right now. And the third thing is efficiently implement the institutional strategy. That's important for us. The actions that we have, the expected results that we have should be done and should be fulfilled. Seeking financing to guarantee the sustainability of financial products. It's important we have a product that is 10% interest rate and is impossible to cover all of our costs with that kind of interest. So we are trying right now to seek for a new financial investors to actually manage and to make it that kind of products more sustainable. Finally, to improve the relations with external entities that promote climate resilience activities and to replicate these practices to small and medium-sized cooperatives in Ecuador. We are part of what we call financial local entities. So we support them and we try to replicate that kind of practices for those institutions. That's all. Thank you so much for your attention, and I am willing to answer any questions that you have. Thank you, Natalia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francisco. And before we arrive to the end of our session, we have a brief survey for you also to express your needs and your state of development. As we see, many institutions are already in the level of development of their strategy. So I invite you to open. I send you on the chat the link to the survey. You will land already in the English version so that you can answer directly. And in the meantime, if we can use these minutes to answer any question that you may have. Agnès might not be with us anymore because she had an emergency, family emergency, but I may answer for her if you have questions of the project implementation, and also to Francisco if there are still any comments. As we said, we have here a small group, and you feel free to open your microphone or to write your question in the chat. I can read and then we can proceed to the answers. Anyone? Or Francisco, do you have any final recommendation? I think based from the next steps that you have, and also from the view that you saw from the work from VisionFund Senegal.
Oh, that was amazing, an amazing experience, I think. Actually, I was looking for some of their aspects to implement in our strategy as well, because it is important to share that experience and to basically see other kind of aspects that we haven't seen before. And well, the main recommendation is basically to be in the same page with throughout the institutions, like the board of members, the authorities, the customers. They have to understand that climate change and environmental aspect is not something that we want to tackle because of, I don't know, it is not fashionable. Is that we need to think in terms of that if we want a better world in the future, if we want a sustainable world in the future, and if the next generations are going to live here, they have the same rights to live in a good condition that we are living right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yes, here you are. Thank you.
Yes, just maybe one comment of the last presentation. I see that the default is very low. So if you can come and tell us how to manage and why, and can you compare also the default on green product on with the other product? Can you did this comparison, and can you tell us what do you learn on this in terms of default loan? Thank you.
Good observation.
Yes, of course.
What have we?
Well, that is one of the Crédito Lógico is one of the lowest, well, of the product that with the lowest default rate. I think in comparison with the rest of our portfolio, that is right now with 8.5 default rate. So in comparison with that, it's a very good product that we have, and it's a very low default rate that we are showing. But one of the keys for having that result is that the way, the methodology that we are using right now to conceive that product is with a lot of training to the customer, with a lot of monitoring of their activities, and as well with the support of another institution, basically an NGO that is giving them technical assistance for the development of the business. So that's basically the difference between the Crédito Lógico and the rest of the portfolio. Some technical assistance and some training for the customers that give them enough chance to develop their businesses in a good way. And I think maybe that's something that we as a financial institutions look after more, and to take into the way how we develop the financial products.
Okay, thank you. It's clear.
Very good. So if you have already completed the feedback survey, the questionnaire that we have shared on the chat, you need still some minutes to proceed and finalize with our main takeaways. Let me know. If not, and you have already completed, or you would like to send us directly emails with your questions, comments, and also your state of development, also welcome here to receive your feedback. No comments yet. I don't see any hands raised. So all of you have completed. Okay. I'll see here in the chat. Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel, Enid. Let's go to the next and final message, the main takeaways. And also you are invited in the chat to give us also your comments. I'll want to give you some key, very simple messages, and and some recommendations that we have seen that have been fundamental for this process. First, the structure approach, like having an environmental performance assessment, having an overview of the view from the management, the view from loan officers, then having these trainings on climate finance, the different frameworks for green inclusive finance, the types of loans, and then conducting the climate risk assessment has been optimal for the microfinance institutions to then start in their climate finance journey by defining their climate resilience strategy with a clear action plan. And for these, data, access to data is imperative, is fundamental for assessing the risks, for understanding what is in your portfolio. Maybe the sectors are still too general or too broad, and you are already financing technologies or sustainable practices, but it is not clear from the data that you have. As well at client level, if you have at client level, the more detail that you can have, in the case of VisionFund Senegal with energy access data, water, sanitation and hygiene, food security, socio-demographic data that even you collect cycle by cycle, then doing panel analysis of that data, you can see how has been or how is the vulnerability of the clients over time and the effects that the loans have also with your clients. So it is having this focus on data structuring is very important. A third message is, and as I showed somehow in the pictures, involving all departments of the institution in this holistic climate strategy is it will be key for the success of the strategy and the work that you have. Francisco, you were mentioning about getting everyone involved, also having communication campaigns, the next steps also from the institutions in getting approval, defining how to share with the board, with the stakeholders, with the customers, with the staff, and preparing for that resistance to change, or preparing for now how to raise that awareness and integrate this vision in the DNA of the institution. It doesn't have to be only the lead from one person or just one department, but a matter of all of the whole institution. And I mentioned in the toolkit, and also from the climate risk assessment that we have done, that there is no one unique framework for the microfinance sector, but rather the sector is evolving, and climate finance, we had 10 years ago, it was only renewable energies. Then we have considered ecosystems-based adaptation. Then it was included into the green finance. Now we're expanding to climate resilience, having adaptation and mitigation. And we will see that, as Beatriz said, this is not anymore optional. Like, green finance is not something that we will do extra, but rather a strategy from institutions is not something that you will do because it will be a nice to have, but rather as responding to the challenges that customers, institution, and portfolio is having. So keeping up to date to the latest standards, to the tools, to concepts, and keeping training and learning on the different methods will be also a catalysator for the success within your institution. And with this, I bring you here my 4 takeaways. Also, thank you, Francisco and Agnès, for sharing your recommendations. And here, if Juan Luis, Beatriz, Michelle, if you have final messages to our to our participants from Sierra Leone, Cambodia, and more countries that are joining us. Feel free here to open your microphone. All good. Yeah, thank you very much for your feedback in the chat from Safal, Idrissa, and Marilyn, Enid. Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel. And we hope that this has been an inspiring session for your climate resilience journey. As we said, the presentations will be shared, and also the feedback survey will be sent in a follow-up email. Okay. All right.
Natalia, San Francisco, Agnès, and everybody for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for the session.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys, for your feedback.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sumit. Goodbye. I will stop the recording. Stop sharing. And closing the session.